Hey everybody, welcome back inside of the quarantine kitchen. We're going to try something a little bit different today. As this quarantine drags on, I'm sure every single one of us is sick of somebody, whether we're just sick of being with ourselves, sick of being with our significant others, or sick of being with our kids. So we're going to do something today that's going to help with that. I've honestly never done it before, something I've always wanted to try to do. But we are going to make booze-filled chocolates. So I know my wife really likes red wine, so we're going to do a dark chocolate with a red wine filling, if you will. When I was originally thinking of doing this, before I bothered to do any internet research, what I was going to do was I was going to mix the water and alcohol together, and then I was going to try to inject it into the chocolates with a meat injector like some sort of weird scientist. Another thought I had was seeing if they would freeze into an ice cube, and then I could just pour the hot chocolate around it and it would just kind of make one boozy creation. Saw somebody wrote this on the internet and it actually worked for them, supposedly. I don't know. I didn't see it myself. So here we are. To make that boozy filling, the recipe is right here. It's equal parts water and whichever liquor that you want to use, and just a little bit of generic gelatin to mix it in. It's just going to help give it that consistency that's going to not let it gush out everywhere. First thing you're going to do is get a little bit of water boiling and start melting some chocolate. You can do this with a double boiler like we're doing here, just a couple pans, nothing fancy. You can do it in the microwave if you'd like. I just don't like microwaving chocolate because I always seem to burn it that way. So you want to get the water boiling and then just reduce the heat a little bit. You don't want the water touching the bottom of the pan. You're just boiling the water so the steam is what's hitting the bottom of the pan, making that pan hot and melting the chocolate. So as your chocolate starts to melt, it's basically still going to hold its shape until you start to stir it around, and then it'll start to break apart and liquefy. You don't want to overcook it either, so it's going to start melting down pretty easy. Once you have it all melted, what you're going to want to do is just any plastic molds you have laying around. I tried to order some eggs on Amazon to be festive, and Amazon basically told me no, that's not an essential item. So I dug around, found some molds that I used to make maple candies a couple years ago. So we have little hearts today that we're going to make. Okay, once you get your chocolate all melted down, you're going to go ahead and just turn the heat off of this because you don't want it to keep cooking for no reason. You don't want that chocolate to get too hot in there. Once the water's already been hot, it's going to heat up relatively quick if you need to, just reheat the chocolate. So you're just going to take your chocolate here and you're just going to dump it into your molds. You don't need to worry about how much you're putting in there right now. All right, so this is a little bit messy, but you have to get all of these sides and bottoms coated on the molds here. These rubber molds are going to work really well to help you let you push that out. So what we're doing here is we're just making sure everything's coated, and then we're going to dump all the excess back into our pan. Okay, so once you have everything generally coated, what you're going to do is you're just going to get any kind of straight edge, whether you want it to be a rubber scraper, a metal spatula, whatever you want, and just scrape the excess out there off of there as best that you can. So we have everything scraped off, everything coated pretty well. Just grab yourself any plate, flip that thing completely upside down, put it in the freezer for 10 minutes, and we'll start making our filling while that's... Okay, next thing you want to do is start working on your filling. So I know nothing about wine except that my wife likes red wine. So I said to her, which one of your bottles do you care that I would sacrifice as a little experiment? And I was told this one. I don't know what this one is. I know it says Zinfandel and a word that I cannot pronounce, and I was told I can use it, and it's red. Smells delicious, we'll say. Not a wine guy. When you're making your filling, it is going to be equal parts water to alcohol with the gelatin. So I'm doubling the recipe because I never just follow the recipe directly. Even though I've never made this before, I have no idea how far it goes. So I did 1 tablespoon of the gelatin, and I'm sorry, 1 teaspoon of the gelatin and 4 tablespoons of the water. So we're just gonna mix that together here. You just wanna stir it until the gelatin is dissolved, and then you're gonna go ahead and mix in the wine. 4 of those tablespoons was around a 1/4 cup if you're playing along at home. If you see there, gives you a nice little red wine mix. Molds out of the freezer. A little stuck to the plate. A little more stuck to the plate than I thought they would be. So there we go. Not too bad. A couple edges that I want to break off there, but all in all, not too bad. So any part that is in your way, we're going to be melting the chocolate down again, so just go ahead and break it off out of your way. Throw it back in the bowl so you can remelt it. Okay, now that you have your mold kind of cleaned up a little bit, you're purely just going to come over top of this with your mixture and just dump a little bit into each mold. I say a little bit because, again, never done it before. Don't know how long this liquid goes, so we're just going to try to dump it out evenly. If we have more, we'll go back and add some more to each one. If we need to make more, we'll make more and add it to it, but I think I am going to be sitting pretty here. I don't think you want to do these anything more than half full, because next you're going to let these set up a little bit, and then you're going to come behind with more chocolate to encapsulate it. So we're winging this together, so you know, it's tough to see there, but I have everything in there. A couple of them are a little low, one's a little full. We'll throw it in the freezer for another 10 minutes. Bring it out, make sure they're set up. And by set up, they're just gonna harden a little bit, just like a Jell-O. They're not gonna be completely hard like the chocolate was. Okay, just took the molds out of the freezer. Admittedly, that took a lot longer than I thought. They were in there closer to a half an hour. I guess when you're trying to freeze an alcohol mixture, it does take a little bit of time. But you can see there, they're not completely frozen. They are like a 7-Eleven slushie right now. But I think that's good. We're not sure because we've never done it before, but we're going with it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take chocolate, cover the rest of them up. All right, so once you have everything covered in one last layer of chocolate, go ahead and put those back in the freezer. Say probably about 15 minutes or so. Okay, so we just took our candies out of the freezer for the last time. Let's see if we can get them out of the molds, see if they stay in shape, and see if they taste anything like they're supposed to taste like. First one broke right in half. That's a good sign. Okay, so I'm calling this a success. We did get one out completely whole, a nice little heart. And you can see the one here, I was a little too aggressive pushing it out of the mold. You can see I did break it. It has a nice little bit of wine juice on there. So let's take a dive in, see what it tastes like. Not bad. I gotta tell you, for not knowing a clue what I was doing or how it was gonna turn out, I think they turned out pretty okay. Like I said, I'm not really a wine guy, so I could definitely taste the wine in the beginning, but I'd like to tinker with it a little bit, maybe even take a little bit more time and get a little bit more wine there in the center to carry that flavor through. There's probably a better way when you're doing it to get things more uniform. And if I wasn't in such a rush, maybe you leave them in the freezer an hour or so to try to set up with a little bit more of the wine and gelatin mix in there. But you can definitely taste the booze in there. Myself personally, I would probably like them a lot more with some sort of cream liqueur, or even just straight whiskey. That would be pretty good. So all in all, I think these worked out pretty well. Melting chocolates, wine, a little bit of gelatin, and a little bit of thyme. And it was a pretty fun thing. So we're going to give those to our fellow quarantiners, see if that brightens their day, which ultimately makes our day better. So thanks for watching this today, guys. We'll do something fun again later, and stay safe out there and keep on keeping on. It'll be over soon, maybe.